now for step 3 of this Christmas wine making series that we're doing for you on our YouTube channel. GBL, the Old Church, 5 Acre Homestead. Hard to believe that another 8 days has passed since we were here in the wine room at our home here in Gander, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. What do you think of the hat that I'm donning this morning? Very festive, don't you think? I have my Santa hat on, my Christmas hat on, and we are getting ready to do step 3 of our Christmas winemaking. And I'm going to show you all of that very, very soon. Join me, folks. Join me. Here's the instructions. Let's go through them again so that everybody is on the same page. We started this winemaking on November the 20th. So we did step 1. Step 2 we did on November the 30th. And here we are on December the 8th, completing step 3. In step 3, folks, the very first step is to rack these wines off once more. This will be the last time to rack these wines off. And we're going to rack this one off in this bucket right here. We are then going to clean that bucket, and then we're going to rack this one off and put it into that bucket. So we'll have these 2 buckets right here full of fresh racked wine. The next step is to add these 4 ingredients right here in the series that I have them laid out. The very first ingredient that we will put in after racking is the potassium metasulfate. Then we will put in the crystal sill. Next we will put in the potassium sulfate, and then we will add our sweetener toward the end. Follow along, folks, to part 3 of our Christmas wine making series. Okay, so let's rack this one off, shall we? Now this wine is already racked off once. We're going to do it the second and final time. And you're going to watch me, folks, and again, I'm going to take my time making sure I just get the wine and not the sediments. Take your time, Mr. Garry. Take your time. We just want the clear wine, not the sediments. Not the sediments. Here we go. This is the second time we've racked off this wine. Okay, as soon as I start seeing some sediments, here we go. Now, I'm going to show it to you. This is the second time. Look at that. We still have some sediments in the bottom of this bucket. I need to clean out this bucket now, and that's what I'm going to do next, because we're going to need this bucket for the second racking. So join me for that. Okay, so folks, I've cleaned my bucket. I have it all sanitized now and ready for the racking of the second bucket here. So join me for that. So let's do that bucket. Okay. Again, taking my time, making sure that I do not rack off the sediments. I do not want the sediments. I just want the clear wine. And as soon as I see the sediments, I will stop. Don't want any of that old sediment stuff in our wine, Mr. Garry. Here we go. Again, look at that. There's all the sediments from the wine during the second racking. I'm going to discard that. I'm going to clean that bucket, and then I'll be right back with you. So these 2 batches of wine that make 34 bottles of wine each have been racked off now, and we need to add our ingredients into each of these buckets. So let's do the first one. I'm going to do this one right here, the one that has the spigot or the spout on the bucket. So let's do that. I'm going to take the cover off, Mr. Garry. And the very first thing that we need to do is we need to add in the potassium metasulfate. So let's do that. So I've cut the top off of this little packet, and I'm adding in the potassium metabisulfate. Here we go. Just chuck it in there, Mr. Garry. There's not a lot in that little package. Okay, so there's only 4 grams in there. So now we need to use our long stick, our long stir stick, and stir that up and mix that in with the wine. Let's do that. This is step 3 that we're following now, according to the instructions, to brew off homemade wine, homemade red wine. Going to be delish and ready in time for Christmas. What do you think of that? Isn't that awesome? That we're going to have lots and lots of homemade wine just in time for Christmas. Okay, so I think that's well established and well blended and mixed in with the wine. Let's add the crystal cell. That's next. Okay, with this little packet, I've cut the corner off it, and I'm now going to add that to our wine as well. Make sure every last bit gets in there, Mr. Garry, into the wine. And again, let's take a minute and mix that in. Here we go. Mix it in and make sure that it is well blended in with the wine. Homemade wine from Costco. Makes 34 bottles roughly per batch, and we have 2 batches here, so that's going to be 64 bottles of wine. Each bottle is 750 milliliters. Okay, so I do think that is well blended. Let's do the next ingredient. The next ingredient that we have to include in this winemaking kit is the potassium sorbate. Let's do that next. I'm going to cut the corner off this little package. Here we go, just a corner so that the opening is a little bit small, and we're going to sprinkle that into the bucket now as well. Okay, here's the potassium sorbate going into our wine. Sprinkle it in over the top. Okay, make sure that every last grain, every last morsel is added to the wine. Let's stir that up. Make sure it gets fully dissolved in with the wine. Now, this last step, we're adding the sweetener. Some of you may decide that you do not want the sweetener added to your wine. This step is optional. Miss Betty and I, we like the sweetener, so we're going to add the little pack of sweetener to this batch of wine. Okay, so here we go. I think that is fully dissolved now as well. And let's go get the sweetener. Here's the sweetener pack. Okay, the sweetener pack is called Chitisan 75 milliliters. I'm going to be adding that to our wine now. Again, I've cut the corner off the little packet, and I'm just going to pour it into the wine. Here we go. Mr. Garry, get every last bit in there, of course, making sure that it's all in there. Okay, squeeze the little packet to get all the drops in there. Here we go. This is the pack of sweetener. It has a little bit of sweetness to the wine, which is a good thing that we think. I'm not sure what you think. If you don't like the sweetener, well then of course you do not have to add that. Now, the only thing left, the only thing required now is to let this sit here for about another 10 days, and that will bring the wine to a close and ready for bottling. So I'm going to put my cover and my bong on this bucket, and then I'm going to get at this second bucket and do the exact same process. And toward the end, I'll show you what I've done. Here we go. So batch number 1 completed. Let's get at batch number 2. I've got all the ingredients laid out here along our countertop. I'm still following the instructions to complete this step. We're going to follow this identically to the step that we did with the first batch. That one's done. Let's do the second one. Finishing up step 3 in the homemade Christmas winemaking process here, folks. Just stirring up now the sweetener into this bucket. Got the first one all done. That's laid over there, all ready to go. And we're doing the second one right here now. Making sure that the sweetener is stirred in and blended with the wine. And that brings step 3 pretty much to a close. Here we go. I've got my check marks added. November the 20th, completed. November the 30th, completed. December the 8th, completed. Okay, tomorrow I'll come back and have another quick look at the wine, see how things are going, probably take a little sample, a little test, and then in about 10 more days' time, this wine will be ready for bottling. Here you go, folks. Step 3, Christmas wine making here at GBL, the Old Church 5-acre homestead, completed. Thanks for liking, thanks for sharing, thanks for commenting, and of course, as always, thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that oh so very much. Garry here, signing out. But we'll see you during step 4, folks, the bottling stage. Bye for now. Okay, now Mr. Garry, get the cover on that other bucket. Let's do that. Let's get that cover on there and make sure that that's secured on that second bucket. Okay, there you go. The bong is full of water. The first bucket is there already. In 10 more days' time, we will be back here bottling up homemade Christmas wine. There you go. There you go.